Hi, I'm Karla Schafer, designer for Antiques Beads, and I'll be demonstrating how to embellish a filigree finding with Swarovski crystals, seed beads, and fireline. The tools and supplies needed for this project is simply an 11/0 seed bead. I'm using some 4mm Swarovski crystal bicones and a 6mm Swarovski round. I'm also going to be using fireline and a needle, a beading needle. I'm using a big eye needle, but you can also use the others, a 12 or a 10. And you will also need a nipper tool. Okay, the first thing we're going to do is I've threaded my needle with a little more than a yard of the fireline. And the first thing we need to do is just tie a knot into the top of the filigree here where I'm going to start. So I'm just going to run it through. I can't tie it. I don't want to tie it onto the edge of the filigree, so I'm just going to pick a spot right here on this lower end. I'm going to run it through the back. I'm going to tie the knot in the back, and we're just going to tie a square knot. And I'm using the big eye needle, but of course you can use the other beading needles as well. But we're just going to tie a square knot here. Now, I'm doing somewhat of a simple little embellishment. You can embellish more, obviously. What we're going to do now is bring the fire line up through this top center hole, and I'm going to string on a 4mm bicone, and I'm going to go down through the center hole of this filigree. So since I've already done this, I know that it took me about six seed beads in a bicone. But that's, just easy to measure and add or delete if you need to. In this case, I think I'm going to have to add some more. Yeah, I'm going to add one more. Actually, we're going to add two more of this and see. Okay, so now you can see we've got a line coming straight down. And so what I'm going to do, since I'm just going to kind of work clockwise around the design, because that's how I was embellishing it. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to come up into this next hole here. I'm kind of going by these little lines in the filigree. You can kind of let your filigree dictate your design to you. But this also will hide the fire line in the back so that we can't see it crossing over any of the little holes here. So I'm going to pick up a bicone again and some seed beads. I've done 6. I'm going to see if that's going to work, and if we need to add some more, we can add more. And the 6 will work on this in this case, so I've got that. And the next one that I'm going to go in is this middle one right here. So I'm going to bring it up from the back. And again, pick up a bicone and a seed bead. And then what we'll do after we've done all of is reinforce it. We'll go back off. You can go back off through them. This case, I'm going to try 3 seed beads. And again, I'm going back down my center hole here. And basically, you're just embroidering on the filigree. And again, I'm going to pick this line here. So I'm going to come up through the hole here, and it's just going to go all the way around the filigree this way. And again, I'm going to come on down to the center bottom hole like we did up here at the top, how we started at the top. And I think this will make a really neat pendant, and I was also thinking it would also make a cool piece, focal piece for a bracelet. So I haven't decided what I'm going to do yet. And then we're just going to continue around. Okay, now I've reinforced most of this. I have finished the round, and I'm going back and reinforcing this. Now you can go ahead and reinforce this as you go, by running it through 2 or 3 times as you go, or you can do it like I have done at the last. So I'm just going to reinforce these last couple of lines here, and then we'll put the center bead in. Sometimes you can't get the needle to go through them all at the same time. It's just sewing them back through. Okay. Okay. Now that I've got this completed around, what I want to do is come up through the center. So I'm just going to come up, since I can't come up through the center since we just entered the center, I'm just going to come up on a side and sew back around so I can come up through the bottom center. So I'm just coming between a bead, and then I'm going to come up through, bring my needle up through the center now. And I'm going to pick up a 6mm round and a seed bead, and then drop them to the center. And then I'm going to take my needle, run it back through the 6mm crystal and back through the center of the filigree. And then I'm going to come up. I want to sew back through this another time, so I'm going to come up through the side here, and again. Bring that thread down. And then back through the center. And then we're going to go all the way back up the 6mm, back through the seed bead, and back down through the 6. And you can do this 2 or 3 times, however you feel it feels secure enough. Now, if I can get it back through there. There we go. Okay. Then what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to, and I know it's hard to see all the threads in the back of here, but you'll see all your little lines where you've crisscrossed along, and I'm just going to do some half hitch knots just by running my needle up through some of those threads. And it's going to be kind of tricky. I don't need a pair of tweezers or a plier to get your needle out until you create a loop, and then bring your needle back through it, and do that 2 or 3 times. Sometimes it's just, if your work is tight, it's going to be hard to get that needle up through there. So you might just need a or change angles. There we go. Okay. And then you can trim your tail from the first knot, and if you want, you can also add a little glue to your knots if you feel like you need that, and then trim the tail on the next one. And then you can add a jump ring at the top, or and make it into a pendant, or as I said, I might even use it as a focal for a bracelet.